Happy morning, my dear student friends. Once again, I welcome you all to this YouTube class. So let us start the syllabus. In this statistics for economics, first chapter, that is introduction. So here certain concepts are kept, such as why economics we have to study. Under that, we cannot get something for nothing. Consumption, production, and distribution kind of concept. And thereafter, the second concept which kept in this first chapter, that is statistics for economics, means how that statistics helps in the economics. So that is what we learn in this second concept. Thereafter, what is statistics? Here we learn what is the meaning of the statistics. And yes, my dear student friends, I welcome you all to this YouTube class. So let me start the syllabus. In the statistics for economics, first chapter is like, that is introduction. So in this chapter we will find certain concepts like why economics. In the beginning of this chapter say something about why we need to study this economics, what kind of function this economics does, means what is the reason behind the learning this economics. That is what they have said in this why economics kind of concept. Under that concept, they have kept certain sub concepts like we cannot get something for nothing, means without paying any single pay we cannot get or we cannot have something. So that is what the mean of that, we cannot get something for nothing. So under that, consumption, production, and distribution kind of concept kept. These are the certain economic activities. So about those also we learn in this concept, that is why economics. Thereafter, the second concept kept, that is statistics. They have said how that statistics helps in the economics, means how that economics concepts are blended in the statistics, or how that statistics kind of subject has blended in the economics, how that statistics helps in the economics. That is what we learned in this second concept. Thereafter, what is statistics, means the mean of that statistics, that is what we learn here. So who all are contributed in this statistics kind of subject, and what is the meaning of the statistics in different ways. Okay, there are two kinds of concepts kept in that, what is statistics kind of concepts, like statistics in a singular sense, statistics in a plural sense. That is what we see in this what is statistics kind of concept. Thereafter, fourth concept, that is last concept, that is what the statistics does. So what kind of help, what kind of importance of the statistics we can see. That is what we learn in this what statistics does kind of concept. In that, they have said statistical methods are no substitute for common sense kind of sub concept, means that statistics kind of which we cannot use everywhere. Okay, we cannot use that statistics as our common sense. Okay, sometimes that statistics kind of which fails, not what we call that not statistically, it means not numerically it fails, but if we apply this statistics method as our common sense, then the statistics kind of which fails. So that kind of to admit to this kind of concept, that is statistics methods are not a substitute for our common sense. It means we cannot use the statistics everywhere. So that is what we have said. Let us get into the concepts. Yes, introduction. So before going to see in depth the concepts of the first chapter, first we have to understand what is statistics, to whom we are calling here as father of economics, and who all are contributed in this economics subject. So that we have to understand first. Thereafter, the concepts whichever comes later. Okay, first we should know who is the father of economics. Okay, we all, I hope you have heard the name Adam Smith. So Adam Smith is the father of our economics. Okay, so he has contributed a lot in the subject of economics. Okay, many theories he has brought or he has introduced in this economics. Those we are using at present also. So that kind of personality or the scholar which to whom we have accepted as the father of economics, and many scholars developed the subject of economics. After Adam Smith, we can find n number of scholars who has, or scholars means some learned individuals or personalities or the economists who throw light on subject of economics, or who constructed many theories in this economics kind of subject. So along with that commerce, we can see some social science subjects like political science, history, geography, sociology, and some other kinds of like social work. So these all are comes in that social science subjects. So to these kinds of subjects, our economics is the queen. It means economics is the queen of all the social science subjects. Nowadays, whatever the social science subjects we have seen now, those are having their own scope. But earlier we had called that economics as queen of all the social science subjects. So that kind of beauty our economics subject has. Like if we come at the definition of our economics, there is no single or uniform definition to our economics. See, that economics kind of which taught by the many economists, no, those economics have defined that economics in their own views. Okay, some are studied that economics in the view of welfare, which has not defined particularly kind of or uniform in uniform manner. So if we take some scholars view, so Adam Smith who has defined this economics as it is the study of wealth. Okay, whatever the wealth we can find under the economy, no? So the study of that wealth is called economics according to Adam Smith. Thereafter we can find Alfred Marshall, who came after the Adam Smith, and he has said, or he has defined that economics is the not only study of wealth, along with that study of welfare. Okay, so that Alfred Marshall has defined that study of the wealth and welfare is nothing but economics. After Marshall, we can find David Ricardo. He has criticized the definitions of or the works of Adam Smith or Alfred Marshall. He has defined that economics in his own ways, in his own way. Okay, he has defined that economics as it is the study of scarcity. Okay, so like that David Ricardo has defined. Thereafter J.S. Mill comes. He has defined that economics as study of political economy. Okay, not wealth, welfare, and scarcity. So that economics is the study of political economy. So like that J.S. Mill has defined what is economics. Okay, I hope you are getting what I am saying here. That's why this economics kind of term, which is the what we call it, a kind of phenomena where we cannot see a uniform definition to this kind. So that is economics. Okay, although we can define this economics as it is the study of man in ordinary business of life. I repeat once again that economics we can define as in a simpler sentence or simplest sentence, that is economics is the study of men in ordinary business of life, which definition given by Alfred Marshall. That kind of definition we have accepted means not universally, but whenever somebody asks at the time, we can say this kind of definition, that is what is this economics. At the time we can say it is the study of men in ordinary business of life. Okay, let us understand what is ordinary business of life. Hope you are not getting what the meaning of that entire sentence. Okay, maybe you have partially understood what is economics, but you are not maybe you are not getting what is ordinary business of life. Let me clear what is ordinary business of life. Let us understand what is the ordinary business of life. The business activities may conduct directly or indirectly among two or more than two individuals. Okay, so in that term they have used business kind of. No, that's why I have said here. I have given some descriptions to that business. Okay, business is nothing but it is the activity where it conducts directly or indirectly among the two or more than two individuals. That is called business. So let us see what more I have said in the list. Yes, so that the business kind of by the various economic agents. Okay, so among that consumer comes, among that economic agents, that consumer comes, seller comes, producer comes, service holder means employee comes, thereafter that employer comes means a service provider. So these are kinds of entity or the individuals. These we called in economics as economic agents. Okay, through these kinds of agents, I repeat, through these kinds of agents, that economic agent, that economic activity which conducts. So let us understand to whom we have to call, or we are calling here as consumer, seller, producer, service holder, and service provider. On this also some questions are framed. That's why listen carefully and understand the concept. So let us understand what is the meaning of the consumer, or how we have to called consumer kind of individual, or the concept consumer. If you, that is not A, if you buy goods and services to fulfill your own dreams or of your family members or of any other person, then you are called a consumer. See here, we are calling a person as consumer when he purchases goods and services to fulfill or to have his own wants or the wants of his or her family, or the wants of or the needs of other person, means friends. Okay, so if we purchase the goods and services to fulfill our desires or dreams or wants, now that kind of person is called consumer. Okay, if I purchase a food article in that Vishal Mart, so at that time I have to call, or I will called as consumer, because I have purchased their food article. No. Give one more example. Suppose you only purchase something in that Vishal Mart. Something means that that clothes. Okay, so that something you have bought from that Vishal Mart, then you have to call, or you will call as consumer, because you have purchased something from that Vishal Mart. No? So to fulfill your dream, okay, you have a kind of dream. It means might be you have dreamt, or might be you have dreamt a kind of dream where you want to purchase a kind of gorgeous what we call that dress. So at that time to make do that kind of dream, if you have purchased that gorgeous what we call that dress from the Vishal Mart, at that time you will called as consumer. Like seller. Okay, to whom we are calling here as seller is when you sell goods and services to make a profit for yourself. Okay, that kind of person is called, or to at that time you are called as seller. Okay, so here in the Vishal Mart, who is the owner of the Vishal Mart, he will called as seller, because he kept the kind of, he has built the kind of Vishal Mart to make profit. Okay, that's why to that kind of person is called, we can call as seller. Okay, I repeat once again, seller means to them we are calling as seller when a person sells goods and services to make a profit. That kind of person is called seller. Okay, like producer. Okay, to whom we are calling here as producer is when you produce goods and services, then you are called a producer. Means that manufacturer, means some kinds of machineries producing industries we can find. Okay, so those kinds of machinery producing machinery are the industrial products are producing industrial product. It means the machinery articles producing industries we can find. So such kinds of industries are called, such kind of owner of those such kind of industries are called producer. Okay, like service holder. Okay, we can call them as employee. Service holder means that the term itself says us that service holder means the person who is having a serving service within himself. Okay, so he can serve to the others. Okay, so that kind of person is called a service holder. Holder means having. Okay, those the person, those individuals who are having a service among themselves. Okay, and who can work for others, no? So that kind of persons are called employee or service holder. When you are in a job working for some other person and you are getting and you get paid for it. Okay, you may be employed by somebody who pays you wages or a salary. Okay, so that is what I have said here. Okay, here we are calling a service the person as service holder is the person who is in a job and who is working for somebody other and who is getting a salary for his service. So that kind of person is called service holder. Okay, like the last kind of concept, that is service provider. Okay, we can call service provider as employer. Means here we are calling a service provider is that kind of person or to them who are hiring a service from the somebody else. Okay, so it means the person who is rendering a service from the others, no? So that kind of person is called a service provider. Means he is providing a service. Okay, means not his service, he is getting service from the others for his purpose. So that kind of person is called a service provider. Means he provides an institution or certain kind of shelter where that others can work. So the kind of person is called a service provider. Okay, that is what said under that concept, that is service provider. When you provide some kinds of or some kind of service to others for a payment, to you we may call as service provider. Okay, a doctor or a banker or a taxi driver or a transporter of goods, so you are called employer. Okay, so here maybe they have made a little they have made little what we call it, mistake. So let me clear that service provider means the person who takes a service from the others and who pay payment or the wage to that person, no? So the kind of person is called a service provider. Okay, if I get the service from somebody else, okay, so at the time I may called or I will called as service provider, because I have provided certain amount of service to the somebody else. It means I am rendering a service from the somebody. Okay, so when I provide that kind of opportunity to some other persons, no? So at the time who renders that service, no? That person is called a service provider. We can give example. We can give best example to this is our Samiti. Means Adarsh Shikshana Samiti. They are having a management body, no? So to them we can call as service provider, because they are providing a kind of platform where we all can work in that kind of platform. Means we means I and my other colleagues can work in this Samiti, no? So that's why we can call that kind of Samiti as the service provider or employer. Like we can find various firms where that firm or industries are owned by somebody else, and there you can find a number of individuals who are working in that kind of firm or industries. So the owner of that firm or industry is called service provider, because he renders a service from the others. No, that's why we have to call, or we will call him as service provider. Okay, so thereafter we have certain more about, or something more about in this concept, that is, in all these cases it means saying that consumer, seller, service provider, producer and service where that firm or industries are owned by somebody else, and there you can find a number of individuals who are working in those in that kind of firm or industries. So the owner of that firm is called the owner of that firm or industry is called service provider, because he renders a service from the others. No, that's why we have to call, or we will call him as service provider. Okay, so thereafter we have certain more about, or something more about in this concept, that is, in all these cases it means saying that consumer, seller, service provider, producer and service and holder. So in all the cases you will be called a gainful employed in an economic activity. So in earlier concepts we have understood, no, like we have seen, no, like consumer, seller, producer, service holder, service provider, no. So they you can find gainfully employed in all the economic activities, means they the activities which conducts gainful, it means gainful activity or gainful employment. Okay, so no one want to work or give. In earlier concepts we have understood, no, like we have seen, no, like consumer, seller, producer, service holder, service provider, no. So they you can find gainfully employed in all the economic activities, means they the activities which conducts gainful, it means gainful activity or gainful employment. Okay, so no one want to work or give service for freely, means sometimes we can find that kind of, but most of times we cannot find that free service kind of or social service kind of. Okay, so here whatever the activities does that the consumer, seller, producer, service provider and service holder, no, so those activities are called economic activity, and not only economic activity, gainfully employed in an economic activity, means there you can find monetary transaction kind of. Okay, so economic activities are ones that are undertaken for a monetary gain. That is what I have said now. This is what economists mean by ordinary business of life. So ordinary business of life is nothing but that is economic activities. Okay, so that is what economics is nothing but it is the study of men in ordinary business of life. In ordinary business of life means economic activities, means economics is the study of men in economic activities. So what kind of behavior that individuals or that men does in the economic activities, no? So that is what the economics kind of said by the Alfred Marshall. Okay, this is what the economics. So thereafter kind of concept kept where we understand why we need to study this economics. What is the need of the study of this economics? So this is what they have said with the help of one example, that is we learn here only. So the detail of that concept is we cannot get. Yes, hope you have heard the story of Aladdin. So it is also like similar how we can see in that the cartoons like Motu and Patlu kind of cartoon or that kind of serial we can find in that Nick and Pogo channels. So like that Aladdin also one of the imaginary the character. So where that character has one magic lamp. Okay, so you would agree that Aladdin was a lucky guy. So you can say that yes, he is the Aladdin, the Aladdin kind of person, or the Aladdin kind of character who is the luckiest guy, because whenever and whatever he wanted, he just had to rub his magic lamp on when a genie appeared to fulfill his wish. So that Aladdin is kind of a character. So when he wished to have something at the time, he used to rub that magic lamp. Okay, so when he rubs that magic lamp, no, at the time a kind of person comes from that magic lamp, and he used to say, जी हुजूर बोलिए आपके लिए क्या चाहिए. So at that time that imaginary character, that genie kind of imaginary character who provides the goods whichever that Aladdin wants in a bat of an oil. Okay, so that kind of situation we can see at the Aladdin, or in that kind of character. So if we see the same kind of in our reality, so we cannot find this kind of situation, or we cannot lucky as much as Aladdin, because we do not have a magic lamp. See, so if we compare with that Aladdin, so we are also having the unlimited ones, how much that Aladdin had, but we are not lucky as much that Aladdin, because Aladdin has that magic lamp. Take for example the pocket money, means the money which we are having at our pocket that you get to spend. If you had more of it, then you could have purchased almost all the things you wanted. Means if you are good at your pocket, at the time you can purchase all the goods and services whichever you want. But since your pocket money is limited, so if you are not good at your pocket, means you are having less income. So if you are not good at your pocket, means when you are at your pocket, at the time what happens? You have to choose only those things that you want the most. Means you have to prefer that kind of goods which you want to purchase first and which you want to purchase next. This is a basic teaching of economics. Our subject means economics, which teaches us that how we have to allocate our limited resource, means how we can allocate the limited money, or that money which we are having less, no, so that less money means the money whichever having which we are having less, no, so that money we can spend. It means how we can spend that less money. So that is what we learn in this economics. Okay, so that economics kind of which teaches us how we can spend that money which we are having. Okay, so here we understood that, or in our previous concept, it means in this concept we have understood that yes, economics which we have to study to make or to get a kind of ability to make a decision. Means that economics kind of which enable us to make a decision or right decision, or that economics kind of which enable us to allocate the scarce resources in a best possible ways. Whatever the resources we are having now, those are the less comparatively our wants, or our unlimited wants. Okay, so since we are having a less resources now at that time, so we get scarcity. Means so if we compare that resources with our wants, at that time what happens? That resources are scarce, or which are limited. So that kind of scarcity which is the root of all the economic problems. Okay, in the economic problems, so we can find what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Means when we are attaining, or when we are facing that scarcity now, at the time these kinds of problems arise, or how much we have to purchase, how much we have to sell, or how much we have to produce. So this kind of problems arises. Those are the economic problems. So had there been no scarcity, there would have been no economic problem, and you would not have studied economics either. So when we are not having scarcity at resources, at the time what happens? That economic problems not arises. So if when the economics problems are not arises at the time, no need to study this economics, since we are having that scarcity now. That's why the economic problems arises, and we have to study this economics as well. Okay, so this is what we have said in that why we need to study this economics. In our daily life, we face various forms of scarcity. On this also they have found 2 marks question. That's why I have worded, I have mentioned on the lines which were used under that concept. In our daily life, we face various forms of scarcity. The long queues at railway booking counters, crowded buses and trains, shortage of essential commodities to get a ticket to watch in new films. So these are certain forms of scarcity. So if we take first the long queues at railway booking counters, means here we are having limited railway facility, or we are having not that much of railway facility what we want or what we desire. It's like crowded buses and trains. Here also if we see the number of buses and trains which are limited, which are not that much how much that individuals or that how much society needs. That's why that buses which we can find crowded kind of, like shortage of essential commodities like food articles or clothing or shelter kind of food articles, essential article commodities which also scare. So that also we can find as forms of scarcity. The rush to get a ticket to watch a new film. So that film theaters also not as much or not a good number of. That's why we rush to get a ticket to watch a new film. Means wherever that film theaters available now, so there we rush to get tickets as much as early. So after saying the forms of scarcity, you have understood, maybe you have understood what is scarcity kind of, means how we are facing that scarcity kind of. Okay, the resources which the producers have are limited. Why we are facing this kind of problems? Because whatever the resources we are having now, those are firstly those are scarce. Along with that, that limited resources which we are using for various purposes are alternative purposes. For example, if you take that land, okay, that kind of resource which we are using for agriculture purpose. Along with that agriculture, we can use for many other purposes like construct buildings and for the purpose of animal husbandry or poultry kind of, or cattle breeding kind of, some other kinds of purpose we can use that land. So when we are using the single resources for various purposes, at that time what happens, that good or that service kind of which becomes scarce, or where we can find that scarcity kind of. Thus alternative uses of resources gives rise to the problem of choice between different commodities that can be produced by those resources. The mean of this sentence is when we are facing this kind of problem, no, when the resources which are limited, and when those are limited, no, at the same time the resources we are using for various purposes, no. So at that time what happens, that creates a problem of choice between different commodities that can be produced by those resources. So when we are facing this kind of problem, no, at the time resources to produce certain or different commodities. So that is what we face from the scarcity of resources. To resolve this kind of problem, we have many kinds of theory or methods in this economics. That economics which tells us that how to resolve this kind of problem of choice. So that is what we learn later. So hope you have understood today's class.